It's been called the perfect script and has become one of the most popular films of all time. Loved by multiple generations of movie fans, the first Back to the Future spawned 2 sequels, worldwide fan clubs, a musical, and numerous other tributes. Now an American classic, the film has had a lasting impact on popular culture and has influenced an entire generation of new filmmakers. Hi, I'm film editor Lawrence Jordan from Master the Workflow, and we provide in-depth training, news, and information for anyone wanting to learn the secrets of feature film and television editing. Our flagship course, Feature Film Assistant Editor Immersion, has trained hundreds of students in over 30 countries, providing our students the real-world skills they'll need to succeed in professional editing. To mark the 35th anniversary of the first Back to the Future's release, today we have the great pleasure of speaking with its editor, Arthur Schmidt. In an outstanding career which includes his longtime collaboration with director Robert Zemeckis, Artie has been nominated multiple times by the British Film Academy and the American Cinema Editors. He's won the Television Academy's Emmy Award and has taken home 2 Oscars for his work on Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Forrest Gump. He's also the recipient of the American Cinema Editors Career Achievement Award. Oh, and by the way, if you like this video, let us know with a like. And be sure to hit subscribe for more great interviews and content about professional editing. So, without further ado, here's my interview with the true legend of the editing craft, Artie Schmidt. Artie, so nice to see you. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today. I want to start off by asking you to tell us how you came to edit Back to the Future.
It was just one of those fluky things that happens occasionally to us film editors. I was doing a film with Michael Apted called Firstborn, and we were at Paramount. The film had 2 young teenage actors, and as you know, Bob was looking high and low for somebody to play Marty in Back to the Future. So Bob arranged for to come over to the cutting room that I was at Paramount, because Michael Apted didn't want to let the film go or travel to Universal. So Michael insisted that Bob come over to my cutting room, run some scenes of the boys on the chem, and that's what we did. Bob came over with his 2 producers, Bob Gale and Neil Canton, and we sat down at the chem and ran, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes worth of film. Maybe it wasn't even that long. But at the end of running the reel of film with the boys, nobody said anything. And so I said, well, what do you think, Bob? Will either of those 2 boys work for you? And Bob said, well, no, I don't think so. I don't think either one of them is quite right. But I really liked the way those scenes were edited. And I think I must have turned about 6 shades of red, because I felt, gosh, did it sound like I was asking for a compliment? And then we talked a little bit, and they said goodbye, thank you very much, and that was it. And about a week or 2 later, Bob called me up and asked me to come over to Universal for an interview and talk about editing Back to the Future. So that's what I did. And at the end of the interview, Bob said, well, I'd really like you to edit the movie. But he said, I know you're the kind of guy who likes to read the script before you commit. And I guess I said, oh yes. I would have said yes to Bob, because, I knew he was a very talented guy. And, I didn't have another movie lined up. So, I took the script, I read it, called it and said I loved it. And then we had another meeting, and he said, well, I'd really like you to do the movie. And we left it at that. And as I was walking out of his office, I asked him who was going to play Marty, and he said, well, they hadn't made a decision yet, but he walked over to his coffee table where there are a lot of teen magazines, and on the cover was Michael J. Fox. And he said, that's the guy I really want, but I can't have him because he's tied up with his TV show, Family Ties.
Wow. That is a really fortuitous and wonderful situation. How courteous of Bob to kind of just offer you to read the script and consider your feelings about doing that before you took the gig. It's really nice.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really great. I would have just said yes. I didn't really need to read the script. I knew that Bob was a talented guy, and I didn't have another job lined up. So
So what was it like reading the script when you actually did? What were your initial thoughts and feelings?
Gosh, my initial thoughts were, well, this is pretty bizarre, and bold, but and it's full of special effects, and I'd never done a movie with special effects, so that felt like that'd be quite a challenge for me. Um, but it was a good script, good story, and something that had never been done quite like that before. Bold and innovative, funny and fun with great characters.
So how did you approach the editing when you started getting dailies? Was it a different approach from the previous films that you had done? Did you have any particular influences or styles in mind?
No, no, I just started dealing with the material, which is what I've always done. I've never tried to superimpose a style of mine on any film that I've worked on. I've always felt that the style comes out of the film, and with respect to the film, the film will kind of eventually tell you what to do if you listen to it. So that's always been my approach. I didn't want to ever superimpose something that
Yeah.
was kind of foreign to the material. I wanted the material to tell me, um, how to cut it. I just opened up and let it talk to me.
I love that. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about my approach, quote unquote. The film really speaks to you, the director's style, sometimes the cinematographer's style, but the film kind of tells you where to go, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And my father, like your father, probably said, "Keep it simple." Keep it simple. That was his mantra. And then I always had that in the back of my mind. And then I realized that was one of the hardest things to do because, we're film editors and people want to see us edit. And I always think they want to see more edits to justify your job. But no, I just tried to sit back and listen to the film and tell the story.
Yes. Yes, a lot of people want to see fancy stuff, but now they think the computer does it all.
Yeah, right.
So Harry Karamitis was another editor on the film. Tell us a little bit about your collaboration. How did you split up the work?
Well, it was pretty obvious from the script that there were two big action sequences, the one at the beginning that gets us into the past, and then the one at the end that brings us back to the future. So we divided those up. I did the opening scene that takes Marty and Doc into the past, and then Harry did the one at the end of the movie. And while I was preoccupied with the opening scene that takes them into the past, Harry did the smaller dialogue scenes that were coming in after all of the material was shot for the opening scene that takes them into the past. So that and that's what we did at the end of the movie, or not at the end of the movie, but when Harry was cutting the return to the present, a big action sequence, time consuming, then I was finishing off smaller dialogue scenes. So that obviously seemed to make sense. And if I got into a jam with the opening sequence that takes us into the past, I could ask Harry to take a look and give me some suggestions. That didn't happen, but we were both always there for each other to help out and look at each other's work and critique them.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a pair of fresh eyes to get feedback from when you
Yeah,
get so immersed in the material. That's great.
and it's different. I'm sure you've worked with other editors, and then you look at their work, and I'd sit back and say, well, is that really okay? Is that the way I would have done it? And we were, free. We were there for each other to critique each other's work, and obviously, um, you set your ego aside and listen to an experienced editor.
Sure.
So that collaboration, was great.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice to have that feedback. How did replacing the lead actor after several weeks of shooting affect the editing process?
Um, we just had to work really fast in order to make our release date.
So you had a hard date.
Yes, it was the middle of June originally, and again, even when we were shooting with Eric Stoltz, that was a difficult date to make. Even though let's see, I think we started around the end of November the first time, and our release date was June 15th, I believe, and that wasn't a lot of time with for a movie in those days with when everything was on film for a movie with special effects. But so we were up against a difficult release date from the very beginning. When we replaced Eric and we had to start all over again, they pushed the release date to, I believe it was July 4th, but that still was
Tight.
really tight and crazy making for
Sure.
everybody.
So you worked a lot of hours.
A lot of hours, a lot of 7 day weeks, and yeah, and a lot of 11 o'clock nighters, especially in the end when we were doing temp dubs for preview purposes.
I remember it well, having assisted Chuck Campbell on that film. It was a whirlwind, to say the least. I remember dubbing on two stages, 12 and
Uh, uh,
12. It was crazy.
it was absolutely crazy, and Chuck was great. He was great in dealing with all the craziness. He handled it beautifully and did a great job. Great job.
Yes, a wonderfully talented man and a wonderful person to work with and for. I really enjoyed that experience. Okay, let me ask you. So, were there any significant scenes deleted from the film?
I don't remember any significant scenes deleted from the film. Maybe I should have checked with Harry. Maybe he would have remembered, but I don't remember the
Do you remember
the,
whether
the,
you were
the
pretty close to time in your first cut?
um. I would have guessed we were about, I don't know, 2 hours and 20 minutes or so.
So it was pretty close. I mean, it seems like a fairly tight script in terms of just the mechanics of how everything unfolded. So I would imagine you might have been pretty close.
Yeah, as I recall, we were pretty close, and I don't recall that there were a lot of scenes that we took out, but we just kind of went through and tightened things up, and I'm sure we eliminated certain dialogue lines here and there in scenes, but basically it was a matter of bringing it together and getting the pacing right and getting it close to a 2 hour time length.
Right. Did you preview the film?
Yes, we did. We previewed it twice. We went up to a multiplex in San Jose and previewed it there. And at the beginning of the film, for about the first half hour, the audience, which was mostly young teenage kids, were pretty restless and not with the movie. And
Hmm.
Harry kind of upset because he was sitting next to me, and he said, "If these kids in front of me don't settle down, I'm gonna hit them over the head or do something." And I said, Harry, I think you should go up to the back row and sit and calm down. And actually, that's what he did. He got up and he moved, and little by little, at the end of the first half hour, the audience had settled down, and from that time on, um, they were with the film. You could hear a pin drop, except for wherever there were meant to be laughs, and we were getting the laughs. And then at the end, there was a huge explosion of laughs, of applause, and vocal comments.
Nice.
So I can't remember whether we had cards or not, or whether we were just going after the vocal reaction. But it was great. And as I was walking out of the theater manager came up to me and he said, "Oh," he said, "you guys have a fantastic hit on your hands." And he said, "I'm going to call my exchange tomorrow and let everybody know." And obviously that's what he did. So yeah, the next thing we knew, Universal was getting orders for the film from all over the country.
Wow. What a thrill. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Did the film change much from the first preview to the second preview? You said you previewed twice. Were you just checking to make sure it was real?
Yes, I don't remember any major changes coming out of that first preview. I think we just kind of tightened it up and took it out to one more preview a week or two later in Long Beach, and the reaction was the same. It was, what they say, a through the roof reaction, something that had never happened to me before. Um, but yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah, I remember when you folks screened it for the sound team at Amblin, and it was a black and white dupe, and it had slugs for the visual effects that were unfinished at that time because it was fairly early on. But the feeling was the same. I mean, it was a rush of excitement that, we had never seen a film like this. And it was such a joyride that we all kind of just looked at each other and just said, wow, we got a hit on our hands.
It's quite something to sit back and say, hey, this is really great. And, 9 times out of 10 films are, not all that great. So, you see an awful lot of not very good stuff when you're working in the business. And suddenly something like this comes along, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, it's an inspiration to, the sound effects people, the special effects people. And to me, when you've got material that's good, you just want to be as good as it is and get the best out of the movie. We slaved obviously over the performances of Michael J. Fox and Chris Lloyd and everybody else, but Chris and Marty uh, were were great.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody was great. I mean, Crispin Glover, Leah Thompson, just everybody really, really turned it in.
Again, a tribute to Bob Zemeckis, who's such a good director and is kind of a
Yes.
master of everything.
Yeah, he really so brilliantly crafted and written. I mean, him and Bob Gale had lightning in a bottle with that thing.
Yeah, they were a great team, and they did a great job on the other two Back to the Futures.
So the film became a worldwide cultural phenomenon. Did you have any idea it would have such lasting and tremendous impact?
No, no, I didn't have a clue of that it would have the extraordinary success that it had. I was obviously very excited in the box office of the first week, and you think, okay, that's great, that's the first week, but it just went on and on and on, and then it became a family favorite. People, big fans, wanted to pass it on to their kids, when they had kids, and so they started having Back to the Future reunions in Los Angeles and screening the movie and then taking people around to all the various locations and in the movie and having a recreation of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance at the end of the week of celebrating the movie. And it was amazing that many people from all over the country and from all over the world, they even had all of us tech people join the actors at the evening of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance and autograph people's posters or whatever. And I was absolutely amazed to see people lined up to get a film editor's autograph. I thought that was really bizarre and something, totally new to me. But yeah, it was great. It just, the success of the movie just went on and continues to right now.
It's interesting because at that time, it seems like it was the beginning of the change of people understanding a little bit of the mystery of how movies were made because people started getting more interested in the crafts and tens of thousands of people were now going through film school, whereas, you know, in the initial generations of filmmaking, it was all kind of people who just really fell into it. But now people were studying it, so I could see how they might want the film editor's autograph as well as the directors and the stars.
Yes, and that has happened to me. I get people requesting my autograph from all over the world,
Wow.
from Japan and Greece and the Midwest, and I have to say that that went on for about a year or two, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, and hasn't continued. I haven't got a fan letter for years now, but there was a time when there was a big influence, and I wasn't quite sure uh, what that was, but I got a fan letter the other day from a guy in the Midwest who said, yeah, I was a film student at whatever university he was at in the Midwest, and he said, we studied your films. And I
Sure.
thought, oh, you know, I had no idea. And he told me
Absolutely.
his favorite film was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Nice. Nice. But absolutely, Back to the Future has been, written about as an influence on some pretty major filmmakers today. So it really, it had an impact on a whole generation of, up and coming talent. Artie, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak with us today about the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future and your experiences editing that film and working with Bob Zemeckis and just sharing your editing insights and wisdom with us.
Oh, thank you.
Take care. And don't forget, if you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon.